Let me take you back to your CV. At page 3, you state under paragraph 9, conferences and capacity building programs, that you attended a conference of the non-aligned movement as leader of delegation. Ghana is a member of the non-aligned movement. No, at the level of global security, where Ukraine, Russia are at war, our president made certain statements. Now, in the light of those statements, if you like, I can give you a gist of some of the things he said. At the UN General Assembly, he was very critical of Russia for invading Ukraine. Then also when he engaged with the UN Secretary of the US Secretary of State, he made comments that sparked a diplomatic row between Ghana and Burkina Faso. But the highlights of that particular statement, which is relevant to my question, is that he raised concerns about Wagner, which is a non-state actor from Russia. The question is our membership of non-aligned movement still relevant in the light of those statements that our state officials have made in recent times?
Good question.
He's not foreign minister, but he led a delegation.
Part of cabinet also.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the honorable member has been a very good friend for a very long time. I thought he's always been looking after my back. The president has appointed me. I'm sitting here. I have not even been confirmed. I've not been taken to my office. You're asking me to discuss the president's questions. So if the letter comes in here, it's withdrawn my appointment. What do I do?
Well, kindly, what the question is, what do you think of the Ghana's position on the non-aligned movement? Discard all the part relating to the president.
Yes, I mean, Ghana has always been, I think, a good and a formidable member of non-aligned. I think non-aligned was started with the Nkrumahs, with the Titos, with the Kenyatas, with all the big boys, Indira Gandhis and all those things. So Ghana has been a part of it. We have the politics of it, which wouldn't always be aligned among the countries, but that's a different thing altogether. But they get on well, they have a common front. You should have been there when we went to Azerbaijan, what you're talking about. It was not aligned. But, countries were quite clear on their own national interests. They were very specific. They made points that concentrated not so much about the movement, but the interests of specific countries. But Ghana would always continue to be non-aligned. Look, in these days of all these superpower issues, you don't want to risk being aligned to this or not being aligned to African countries and the third world countries. Essentially taking the decision to be not aligned, Ghana would remain not aligned.
Now, Honorable Katie, concerns have been raised about our current economic meltdown, and that has led us to go.
You see, it's a difficult question. Let's go back to President Kufuor's time. And there was a point that President Kufuor made a point that he thought a particular number of ministers and ministries, a certain number was good for the administration of the country, depending on the circumstances at the time. Another time, he calibrated that statement. In the time of President Mahama, President Mills, President Mahama, same issues. I mean, a classic example. During my days as the Deputy Minister of Energy, we had one ministry called Ministry of Energy. At the time that President Mahama, President Mills came, it was divided. You then had Ministry of Petroleum and then Ministry of Power. it was divided into two. Is it so? It's not a straightforward question of whether government has to be downsized or government is bloated or whatever. So listen. Just help me on this. I mean, I'm only going to government if House approves me. I'm going to the government for the first time. But sitting outside, I've been just wondering myself. All right, you take out my brother, the general here. You collapse the Minister of Local Government. It's just he, the minister, local government, who will be going out. The staff would all be there. It will be there. The staff will be there. You can't sack them. They are public servants. You would have just eliminated the head, destroyed the minister. It's a dicey issue. I mean, I see the sentiments that go with it, and we bloat it down. The letter that I referred the chairman to seems to have some reference to that. It doesn't seem to me to be entirely straightforward. But then, them are the breaks.
Yes. Yes. Honorable Member, permit me to reiterate the position earlier made by my colleagues. Indeed, Ghana is not just a member of the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, but the headquarters itself is housed here. And again, Ghana is signed onto the ECOWAS protocols of free movement of goods and persons. My question is intertwined. As a regional minister, the Regional Coordinating Council, and I say continuously, is faced with the challenge of Ghanaians and the entire citizenry doing business in this country compared to others who have come here to take over their local business. It's a major problem as we speak. Almost every year it comes up. Traders will go and lock shops and all that. I really want to know what your ministry will do about it if you are given the nod.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We talked a little bit about it, I think, in your absence. Forgive me. Yes, but as I say, I've seen that it's under consideration within cabinet already, and the papers and the discussions I've had suggest that there have been so many high-level meetings, some of which were attended, I suspect, by your honorable self. Well, if you were not included, there have been high-level discussions with the high commissions and the embassies of the countries that are involved. I mean, particularly, I think the notorious fact essentially is it's not really a banter. Is the argument that's been going forth and back and forth between Ghanaian traders and the Nigerian traders. Have been a level of discussion at a very high level among the governments to ensure that the protocols are observed. I can understand. You come in here because of the protocols, which enable you to come to another country to participate in a certain sector of the economy. And you try to take up the commanding heights of the country, of the host country. It's a difficulty, but it's also dicey. It's not straightforward, brothers and sisters. That is the essence of this whole relationship that we're trying to establish among ourselves. You don't want to be extraordinarily hard on the citizens from other countries, but of course you also want to ensure that the laws are observed. Let's see what we can do.
Mr. Speaker, my second question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Maybe on the specific one about calling somebody that tells you that the phone, we've all been pretty upset about it. But I'm happy the honorable member sits right on your left-hand side. So I'm sure, even though she's a little bit excited at the moment. That's right. Okay. So she would take it up. We'll discuss it seriously. It's a fundamental issue that some of us we don't understand. You go, yes, it goes through. I mean, you call somebody. I was talking to him yesterday, called him several times, picked up one. The second one, they told me the number I've called does not exist. I mean, this is why I just spoken to him in 2 seconds. So it's an issue that we would be talking about. But on the consumer protection as a whole, Mr. Chairman, it's a matter that troubles some of us seriously. You go to a shop in this country, a supermarket, whatever, you buy whatever, it has a difficulty. I mean, you can't take it back. They tell you, no, you bought it, that's yours. It doesn't matter what defects you find eventually in the product that you bought. It's a difficulty. But I'm happy to, Mr. Chairman, announce the government isn't doing badly at all. Again, going through the little documentation that I have, I actually see that in the next few days, weeks, months, whatever, there is going to be placed before this August House a bill to enact into law, which is supposed to be called Consumer Protection Act. I mean, you've been to all these places, and the consumers are protected effectively by some ombudsman, by some established institutions, which are effectively in charge of consumer interest and well-being. We don't have it here. I mean, the other day, I think the acting minister for this ministry made a statement on the floor of the House, and he quoted some funny case, a judgment in the 70s by, I think, the High Court, when there had been an issue. A guy is gone to court, and it was the Donald G. Stevenson, the lawyers, Donald G. Stevenson kind of situation, and the court is saying, now we can prove it, that your problems, your ill health and those things, well, because of whatever. It was quite disturbing reading it, because really there's no law. There we go. So
very well.
There is that document.
Have your third one, and then we can proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the issue of our low cassava in this country that we don't know what we are doing with. Well, I'm sorry, but well, if we know, then we should be producing more gari and exporting. Today, Mr. Speaker, there's chocolates that you go outside and you buy and you bring chocolates. Our cocoa producers are complaining. Mr. Speaker, I just don't want to go into it, but the long and short is that what can you do when you are giving the nod to ensure that the local products, you help them to export by working with the Free Zones board, so that we can encourage them to produce and sell. Because as it were, they produce tomatoes, they produce cassava and all those things, and after 6 months or so, they go rotting. It's a cycle. Something has to be done about it. What can you do about it?
Something has to be done indeed, and almost immediately. Again, it goes to the matters that we've already touched on. Some being a context of the ECOWAS trade protocol, some being in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that's now been put into place. And of course, it goes back into the 1F thing that we talked about. The government is ensuring that not just simply fiscal policies are effectively put in place to help them, but the ambience, the technical conditions of the various institution companies, trade businesses you're talking about, the support system, the infrastructure system that they require would be put in place. I think in all of this, the most important one, Mr. Chairman, is the finances, the financial condition. The tax exemptions that have been discussed, the rebated interest that have been discussed, and the encouragement to the local banks, Mr. Chairman, to help these companies. But I haven't done all of that and haven't produced it. Of course, the issue then is that what do we do? Mr. Chairman, that is why we also have the AGOA and all those agreements. There's now the partnership agreement with the United Kingdom, of course, with the European community. A lot have been put in place. What I think it's a killing of the industry. it's partly, if nothing at all, it's this issue about importation of every conceivable item into the country. Let's go in the document that I've seen and the committee that I see the cabinet has already put in place. Let's see what we will be able to do within the framework of what I've discussed.
CV that has been presented. There are no indications as to when he went to which school and when he left. He has answered that. Okay, but there's also no indication as to whether he did national service or not.
Honorable, if you
has he answered that?
If
also?
you want to ask that as a question,
it's
please.
Part of the CV, and I'm just
no. We didn't do the CV separately. So if you want to ask as a question, please proceed.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, there was a question also about how many children he has. In the era of nepotism and all of that, Mr. Chairman, I do not understand why it was ruled out, but it wasn't my question, and so the person didn't insist on it being answered.
Kindly ask your question.
To my first question, Mr. Chairman, can you be tolerant with me a little?
No, I'm not tolerant anymore because you all get offended when I was way too tolerant. Members get offended, so please, let's be formal.
Yes, we are being formal, Mr. Chairman. The issue of how many children a person has when he's occupying a public office is important, especially in investigating nepotism. But it's not my question. So my first question will be, did you do national service, honorable nominee?
Yes, Honorable Katie.
Number one, the universities were closed down, so we were sent home, and I think that probably would also have counted as the work that we went to do during the revolution. That is one. Number two, 2001, when I was vetted, I am clear that this matter came up, and I think I was granted exemption also at the time before I became the deputy minister in 2001. So I thought this matter has long been cleared.
Okay. And one when he was deputy minister of energy. A matter that came before the judgment commission, the judgment debt commission, and the probe on that sale ended with the view that the honorable nominee before us represented both parties in the transaction, acting as the advisor to government and also secured finance from a third party for the purchase of the ship from the government. The commission also noted that he had not disclosed his financial interest in the transaction and had taken advantage of his position to gain benefits for himself and his associates. Indeed, the commission concluded that Honorable K.T. Hammond had breached his fiduciary duties by facilitating the transaction without ensuring that the government received fair value for the drill ship. Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the honorable nominee if this finding has been set aside.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what he's reading. Is it his own printout or this is the government, whatever? I don't know what he's talking about. Let him give us properly what he's talking about. This is the first time in my life I'm hearing what he's talking about. So let him give us the documentation.
Let's make it clear. Yeah. Did you appear before any such commission?
I did, but
did the commission make any such finding to your
absolute balderdash? No, Mr. Chairman.
What did you say?
Mr. Chairman, no.
No, you use the word
Mr. Chairman,
which is totally unparliamentary.
Mr. Chairman,
please withdraw that.
Because I take the view
Please withdraw that.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to you, yes, I take it out and then say that.
I asked you whether they made such a. Your answer is no.
Mr. Chairman, no, there is no such findings about me.
Okay.
But that's the point that Mr. Chairman I'm making, that if he's reading something from his own...
Don't worry about that, please.
Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, part of the work we are doing here is to examine the nominee's temperament. So the nominee must ensure that he answers questions with the right temperament, regardless. We are colleagues. And obviously, if your colleague asks you a question, you have a duty to answer those questions. You may be provoked, but please, the use of those words is unparliamentary and we shouldn't be repeated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. That word is withdrawn. But Mr. Chairman, I think you would also be conscious of the fact that colleagues we are, but orchestrated calibration of stuff
Honorable
like
Chairman,
that.
I asked you a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your answer was to me.
Thank you.
If I felt offended,
Thank
but
you.
I asked you to withdraw it, you have withdrawn.
It wasn't directed towards you, Mr. Chairman, you realize that,
Kindly
but
withdraw.
it's withdrawn. No, that's long withdrawn.
Yes, Honorable, kindly continue.
Mr. Chairman, demanded that I provide the source document that I used to ask the question. I take it that we are still on that question, and so I can make a presentation on the government white paper
asked
that
him,
was
he
presented and
says-
get his response.
I asked him, he says he is not aware of any such finding on him. So if there's any such finding on him, kindly table it so that it will...
Mr. Chairman, I wish to table the government, the judgment that commission report and the government white paper on it. I wish to submit it. Thank you. It's in soft copy now. I will submit it immediately. We are done. Mr. Chairman, it is allowed.
Hard copy, don't have.
Mr. Chairman, it is allowed.
Okay, no, I have the hard copy.
It is allowed. Mr. Chairman, besides,
Honorable, it's okay. All right. Honorable members, can I have some order, please? Well, I'll take it that you will bring a copy to me so that I'll share it to the members. Please proceed.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I mean, the judgment, that commission report, and the government white paper are public documents, and so I will just submit them accordingly. I will move on to the next issue, question number 2.
No, Mr. Chairman.
I want to, sorry.
Can I?
May I find out from the honorable nominee if he has a breaking point? I mean, at what point, for example, will you ever consider resigning from a public office? What are some of the things that will make you, for example, offer your resignation, to your appointing authority?
Yes, Honorable.
I don't quite comprehend the question.
Is there anything that will get you to resign if this question, if you're not approved?
It's a difficult question to answer. Okay, yes. You're talking about a situation when this house approves me and I go to the ministry. Is that what he's talking about? Is that it, Honorable? Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, if the chief executive, who will be the president, and I have fundamental disagreement, then of course that's a good ground to say thank you very much and walk away.
Yes, the next question.
Mr. Chairman, I will leave it here because I do not have many follow-ups, but just to put on record that Honorable K.T. Hammond actually took a case against the government of Ghana on this report that he claims he has no knowledge of, using Egbert Fable as his lawyer, and he's under
Honorable,
oath. Thank you.
You're done. Okay. That statement should be, no, just not captured as part of the record.
Why?
When you bring that information, you can speak to it. Now he's saying that he has never heard what you are reading.
Yeah.
So you
He's never heard about it.
Yes.
That's what he's saying. So I'm just reminding,
Please,
that he
let's
is.
leave it here. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, please, with all respect to you, deference to you, on this matter, please let me. About 20 years now, this particular subject, I would explain something. This matter has been making all this. I've never said that I do not know about the drayship. That's not the point I've made. I've never said that I've not appeared before an appellate committee. I have not said that. What I've said today is that I do not know what he is talking about, because that has never been in any publication as far as I'm concerned. It isn't the appellate report is read out there, and it is no other report that is talked about. I think this should be on record.
Do you have the appellate report?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Would you like to tell
Of course, Mr. Chairman. It is the only document that I decided to bring around. Whoever is around, Mr. Chairman, they can hand it over to you. I do have it.
The clerk will take it.
Actually, let's put it in perspective. I heard somebody say it over there. The appellate report was not published in its entirety. What happened was that after the report, as is done in this matter, is sent to the...
Can we have some order, please? Order.
It is sent to the person who instituted it, and then government puts up the white paper. This is the white paper, its findings and conclusions.
Yes, you said you wanted to ask a question? Yes, proceed.
Congratulate my uncle, Honorable K.T. Hammond. In 2001, the Honorable Dr. Kofi Konedo Apreku was appointed the Minister for Trade and Industry. Subsequently, the Honorable Alan Koyotra Martin took over from him. Now, both of them ended up running as flag bearer aspirants of the party. Do you have any such ambition too?
Mr. Chairman, can we move on?
Yes, ask another question.
Mr. Chairman, now that my uncle has cooled down, I think I can go to my substantive question. There has been some issue regarding prices of food and more or less commodities in the country.
Mr. Chairman, yes. It's a difficulty compounded by what has become the local mantra. The dollar is, CD is, well, Honorable Ahi, is he here? My brother Ahi, if he's not here. The dollar is appreciating the CD, CD is appreciating the dollar, and because of that, water is the dollar, everything. It's pretty disturbing. Mr. Chairman, just about 3-4 so days ago, there was some discussion with the cement and these other manufacturers association, and this whole matter, it's not so much about maize and transportation alone. Basically, prices of many of these products and items. And the question really is, what goes into the price metrics? And it's a difficulty. It's really a difficulty. The General is sitting here. We've had a serious argument. Listen, General, can we not go back to command economy? I mean, put prices, command, and we have a good laugh. Well, those are the champion days and others. You cannot have those things. It's free trade now, and so people decide on how they want to price their commodities. But price it within some confines. It's all free for all kind of situation. So I understand, but as I said, I've read things that I'm comfortable about. The government is grappling with this by the scruff of the neck. We can just give free rein to everybody, Mr. Chairman, to decide on how they price their item. It's not good. I went out there to buy some plantain the other day myself, and in the end there was a little argument with the lady. Poor lady, I ended up giving them some money. Some plantain, 2 sticks, fingers of plantain, she said was 20 or whatever. In the end, she said to me, sir, I mean, in all of this, what I get is this. and that it is the market, what the drivers, the whatever.
Honorable
take all the
nominee,
manners.
do you think that the consumer protection bill you're placing can in any way influence pricing of goods and services also locally?
That problem will be going back to the command. I'm not sure the purpose of the Consumer Protection Act is simply, well, not simply, it's partly to control prices as they are. It wouldn't be the focus of that bill. It is the protection to the extent that you are being served properly, not in terms of how much the price is, but whether what you are buying is really what it is cracked up to be. And then the after-sale effects and all of that. That seems to be what the Consumer Protection Act is about. But in terms of pricing, Mr. Chairman, I think it is a matter that collectively everybody should be thinking about. The market women, the drivers, the whatever, because really it's unfair.
Let him finish, please.
Mr. Chairman,
I think it would definitely be considered.
Okay.
I'm done.
Let me, Gisela, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, areas of import substitution. What are the top 10 that you think you would like to tackle over the next 2 years?
Well, if you want me to have a good look at it, it starts from things like used vehicles. It goes to palm oil, cement, the guts I was telling you, bladder and the thing from animals, then the cereals, and then rice, those excavators, and then used dumpers, and quite a bit. It goes into 50, and then from there, then they do what they call the priority programs too. They selected 20 out of the lot, and 20 will be in the form of rice, poultry, oil palm, fish, sugar, and then we go to manufacturing, and then of course the fertilizers and the ceramics. It has been segmented. The 20, it's what immediately it is thought that attention should be paid to.
I'm asking this question because since I came to this house, I have seen you as quite a radical person. So I believe that with that, if you're able to go through, which we do not know yet, with that radicalism and with the prioritization that you have just mentioned, we believe that you'll be able to turn things around. Do you believe so?
Well, thank you. Yes, I think I'm a radical. Some would say a notorious one, but let's be honest. It's within a certain context. This is a national framework. You don't go and behave like a bull in a china shop and destroy everything. Yeah. So we'll see how we'll be able to make our contributions felt. But at least the framework is there.
All right. My next question is on what is your view on the business councils, on the various country-to-country business councils, and how do you think you can make them more effective? Business councils, chambers of commerce, how do you think they are actually contributing to? Do you think that they're actually contributing their quota to the best practice and best development and best outcomes for international trade? Considering your very long years of experience in Parliament and your experience generally.
Well, those are difficult questions to give definitive answers to. I mean, well, we know what we have. We know what is going on. In all of this, they play their role. Well, I think they are not doing badly. They like advisory councils, just as I indicated earlier on a few days ago. The cement and industry people had some discussion, a chat with me. they discuss what they think they could do or they could put up, make sure that at least the prices of cement and other things and consumables became bearable for the people. I suspect that is what the other associations, other councils, other groups have also been doing. They may not have scored 100%, but I think, well, to the extent that they have made inputs to rational policy making, they have served their purpose.
Mr. Chairman, as he indicated, the ministry has a 10-point agenda. When you go to their website, it is clear on it. It is tabled on the website. Which of these 10 points do you think you're going to prioritize, aside from your 20 priorities of import substitution? Which of these 10 are you likely to prioritize so the Ghanaians can see that there's a great change in the whole trade environment? Thank you.
No, they are actually complementary of each other, you see. So the 10, I'm not so sure which ones you want to take away. For example, they're talking about, I don't want to start from the top, I want to start from the bottom. Public dialogue, for example. I mean, you can't isolate that. It's important to have the public enterprise and then the private enterprise kind of having this dialogue. That's also important. They're talking about substitution, trade substitutions. I mean, subcontracting. You see, we have the bigger companies, we have the small ones, which cannot compete for anything, for much. So policy is to make sure that there's that kind of subcontracting. I'm starting from the bottom to the big ones. And then, of course, you have the small scale, medium enterprises. There's a concentration on that. Without this, we don't have bigger ones in Ghana. These are the bits and pieces that we have. So there must be concentration on them. And of course, there is the decision, the big ones. One district, one what is it? One district, one factory, one district. I mean, it encompasses it all. It's a big one. It's a flagship one. You cannot concentrate, should be there. But it has a boomerang effect. You concentrate on that, it kind of catches all in the loop. So that is very important. And then look at the other one that we're talking about, the stimulus package, the national revitalization. All the companies that have collapsed, I mean, well, take them up, give them oxygen of life. Let's see what is it that we can do, and then creating more free zones and then economic parks. We're talking about the Buankra thing. They now have a greater Kumasi zones, and then of course concentration on trade. So it's really difficult isolating one from the 10 that this is what's going to be the concentration. If we even said that we're going to concentrate entirely on the one district, one factory thing, that encapsulates, as I said, all of in one shape or the other, all the plans that we talked about. So it might be difficult to state categorically that we emphasize this or we will prioritize and leave it there. The 10, I think, go hand in glove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last one is the development of SMEs, which I think in this 10 pillars, it is the crux of the local economy. In your constituency, in my constituency, you know, the local market women and what they go through to just try and get some.
Yes, thank you. Again, as I say, it's all like we're going to start from scratch. There's something in place. It's all the discussion about the insurance. It's all about finances, you know. Their finances are weak. So government effectively saying that we would ensure that you have some money from some participating banks. You have some money from the banks. Banks will be encouraged to do that. If our government goes to the extent of suggesting that you are not in it alone, we would also make sure that part of the interest that you'll be charged by these participating banks, we would take up half of it, we'll pay you half. Government is saying that we're going to make sure that you have a lot of tax breaks Back rates include tax holidays and reduction in the corporate taxes, and of course, taxation, waiver of taxation, which of course will be the responsibility of Parliament. We would establish advice centers. We would make sure that there is a complete relationship between the center and, of course, the diverse enterprises that you talked about. ISU is in your constituency. It's another classic example. I mean, I was reading about it and I was getting disgusted. You know, what happened, and those who took over and all sorts of things, they are now in court and all that. Commander Sugar, who is Commander Sugar, another issue. So Commander is also here. No, I'm talking.
Ignore the aside.
Can always ignore that. Commander, that's another issue. When Commander was launched, I mean, everybody was excited because we knew about Commander Sugar Factory many years ago when we were what we were. And then it turns out that its implementation, Mr. Chairman, was catastrophic. So these are the things we will look at. We'll do our best. We'll complement the efforts of other colleagues. Maybe they will complement the efforts of our ministry and hopefully achieve something for the good of the whole country.
Very well. Thank you. Now, yeah, just I'll give you the last one and I'll come to leadership.
The nominee will still need to do some further works to tidy up the CV. If you look at page 3, paragraph 7, he mentions committee membership in Parliament. I have been, then he lists A to H. Now, I think it will help if he attaches some dates to them. I still see appointment committee. I just don't know which dates he served, and other committees that he no longer is serving, and so on. But yet they are all captured. So if he could spend some time to tidy it up, it will help. Particularly that it becomes a public record. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, my first question has to do with, and I hope that nominee will approach it with some specific responses. There has been the impact of COVID-19, for example, on global trade and how it's been structured. Many countries are enacting some protectionist policies and programs to be able to support local industry and local businesses. What are your own ideas? You just have 2 years. What are your own ideas that you are bringing on board to be able to navigate these challenges and then protect Ghana's trade interests?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure about the point he makes, the protectionist thing, but that's all an anathema to the principles that we just discussed. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the ECOWAS protocols, and of course, WTO, World Trade Organization Agreement, they do not allow for the protectionist concept that he's talking about. So essentially, it's about opening up. But opening up, and of course, in the process, also making sure that your industries, your internal trade gets the best out of it. So I'm not so sure. So far, I haven't seen any document that it already exists for effective protection of our country from outside influence or penetration or interference. But to the extent that we want our companies to be able to trade effectively or to participate in international transactions, government, from what I've seen, is already put in place the kind of things I've already articulated to make sure that they are properly placed, there's proper competition, they are given advice, technical advice, they are given financial support. These are the things that the government is prepared to put at the disposal of these companies to make sure that they are well positioned to be able to interact with external competition.
Honorable Chair, it appears the
or anything, but I also think that we should be fair, among ourselves. That's another issue of rather unfairness, because
please answer the last part. Ignore the comments.
We don't need to, because I am not starting. This government has been in place for 6 years now. I'm only joining at the tail end of it. It's 2 years. Who am I to suggest that the government hasn't done anything at all? There's nothing on the plate, and that I'm starting. We call it what, tabula rasa or something. What is the suggestion? So I keep saying that the blocks are already in place. I would continue from where the likes of Alan Chemantin left off, and I've had the privilege of reading some of the things and what is already in place. You said that you don't want to approve me. Mr. Chairman, you have a letter not to him. You have a letter not to approve me, but if that is what you are talking about, that's a different thing altogether.
Honorable Chair, I didn't say we don't want to approve him. I'm just making a case.
Mr. Chairman, it's classic. So that's the point. It's a cycle. We're talking about industrialization. We're talking about growth in the economy. We're talking about employment for the youth. In all of this, the question of finances do arise. They would want to import the machinery. Unfortunately, for whatever it is worth, we haven't been able to produce much by ourselves. So quite a lot of these materials, quite a lot of equipment would have to be imported. That is the waiver thing that you're talking about. Government takes the view, particularly in the context of 1D, 1F, that, some waivers may be necessary. I do recall some time back, the current chairman of Finance Committee had this whole idea about the use that, waiver serve. Opinion is divided. Those who have the view that you just indicated, that is it necessary considering how much is spent. There are others who also suggest that it's important to boost the productive sector. You don't have your own equipment in place, you have to bring them. But if you're going to impose all the levies, the taxes on them, in the end, there are comments all over the place. Because everybody feels quite strongly about this matter. In the end, it will be how much is it that the consumer has to pay for the end product.